What's good? It's Casper. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the movie Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting is a 1997 film. It's rated R and it's 2 hours and 6 minutes. Directed by Gus Van Sant. Very cool to see Matt Damon and Ben Affleck as writers for this movie. So Matt Damon and Robin Williams are both in this movie, and realizing that I actually haven't seen too many of their films. I've seen more Robin Williams movies than Matt Damon. The movie is about Matt Damon's character, Will. He is a janitor at MIT. He has a very special gift of just being very smart, more specifically in math solving. Will, being a janitor at MIT, he doesn't really have much going on for himself in life. There is a professor at that school that notices him, but how he notices Will is through this chalkboard in MIT hallway that Will ends up seeing while cleaning the hallways. And it has the craziest math equations ever. Not even the students there can answer it, but Will can. When the students come by, they notice that the math equation got solved. The professor noticed it as well. They noticed that it was correct. A lot of stuff happens in between there on figuring out who wrote it. One professor finds out that it was Will who was solving it. Long story short, with Will, doesn't have much going on in his life, so he gets in trouble with the law. This professor finally gets a hold of Will, ends up making a deal with like the court and the judges of being able to supervise Will and get him out of trouble. So he's basically having Will be on good terms with the law, and the court agreed on that. The professor now wants to know, who is Will? How is he so smart? Professor puts Will in front of a lot of people like therapists to pick his brain, but Will's just being a smart mouth and being very obnoxious that he doesn't even want to be in none of those places. He's just trying to have a good record and just live life like nothing really matters. Ends up getting finally tested by Robin Williams' character, who is Sean. And Sean is another professor who's also a friend of the professor who found Will. And they're both just as smart as each other. Smart replies and just smart outlooks in life. But with Sean, he realizes that Will hasn't experienced a full life and doesn't even know what certain life experiences are. So Will realizes that Sean is somebody that kind of understands him. Over time, you see how a bond is forming while Sean is trying to pick the brain of Will. The first hour is a great character buildup for Matt Damon's character, Will, being straightforward, live life carefree. The acting in the beginning was, for me, seeing him that young was a shock, and him performing those lines and that attitude and that character surprised me a lot. It gave me a lot of that 90s era vibe. I do like the fact that this movie, Matt Damon's character and his buddies, they're all from Boston, Massachusetts, so it did give me like Boston vibes. Very loud with their profanity and just very loud and just expressing how they feel, that East Coast vibe. And him being a janitor solving these problems, I was literally being like, how is this dude just doing this? How does this dude not know that he can take his life to the next, level? Seeing him work at MIT as the janitor and still being obnoxious and running away from people and cussing at people from him getting caught on solving that math problem. But we could see that this dude just thinks he knows it all. I think the acting was really good. Cool, just overall character development, just seeing what he deals with on a daily basis. Just see how loudmouth he is and just careless he is. One thing that got me very interested in Matt Damon's acting is just seeing where this guy is going to end up going, from literally having the brains to solve a lot of problems but doesn't really have the brains on to figure out what he's going to do in life. Very interesting characteristics, I'll say, from Matt Damon's character, where a lot of the stuff that he does, you can see from maybe yourself, or you can see from other people as well. Slowly but surely you saw that he was figuring it out, and slowly and surely you figured out that he actually had to humble himself to actually accept knowing that he's not right all the time. Very cool seeing him that he could solve all these problems. Don't get me wrong, that was actually very awesome. I think the scenarios of him dealing with therapists and people trying to solve his brain who couldn't do it was an interesting one as well. The lines that backed up Matt Damon's character in those scenarios were, wow, only a smartass can think of. Overall projection of that was just phenomenal. You could see how the professor was very annoyed that he's not as smart as Matt Damon's character. And you see a lot of people's reaction with Will's character. I think the love side between him and his girlfriend that he had in this movie, I thought it was something that, another relatable thing that they put Matt Damon in. Very touching as well. Like, it got to a point where Matt Damon's performance in this movie became very emotional. Scenarios in this movie that just have to shout out the writing, especially with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck for that. That's just, wow. Took it to a level where I was just very surprised mesmerized. You could feel what he's going through, all tuned in on just seeing his character, from his facial mannerisms to what he's gonna say. It's just, what are you gonna expect next? And a lot of these moments in here where it just made this movie had an all-around classic feel, especially with him doing what he had to do from the beginning into the end. It just, you can just see that it's gonna be a classic performance from Matt Damon. I think it all ties into how the movie ended as well. So overall, just a good look on screen. He just knew how to attack the camera, and he knew how to look in the right directions to make his character just shine a lot better. Relationship with Ben Affleck as well. I think that's another side of the movie where you kind of sleep on because he's so obnoxious with his friends. But then when you see Ben Affleck and Matt Damon start doing their thing together, you're like, wow, you can actually see how these characters are playing their role. Ben Affleck was a key actor in this movie who plays the character Chucky, who's Will's best friend. Robin Williams plays the character Sean, and he's a character that doesn't show up till later in the movie. I would say second half of the movie. First half, we're seeing how Will is dealing with a lot of people trying to pick at his brain, like therapists, other smart people basically jealous of him. But Sean is the final dude in Lambo, the Professor Lambo, looking for someone who can pick at Will's brain. So Sean is the one person Lambo knows he could pick at this kid's brain. But Robin Williams, overall, that presence gave me a vibe like you had a really cool teacher in school and you're not gonna forget him at all. But performance was phenomenal. It was outstanding. You're gonna love his character, how he really is smart just like Will, but he's just that mature, has dealt through life a lot more type of personality. Sean comes with the craziest lines in this movie that a mature smartass can do to a young immature smartass, and the lines were here were just super effective. Robin Williams' acting was award winning in my opinion. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Even though he has this obnoxious kid, you know, still can get hurt by some words. Very sad to know that he dealt with stuff, you know, personally, and could only imagine what actors had conversated with him while he was alive. I feel like during this movie, this dude was just saying a lot of stuff behind the scenes to other actors on how his life is going. But I feel like with a lot of Robin Williams' performance and the way he's putting out these lines, he's able to do that because of the stuff people don't know what he's actually dealing with. This is a performance right here that I'm very glad to see, because the last movie I saw, I think, was Miss Doubtfire, which was great. I can't wait to rewatch it and do a review on it. But this one right here, you just see Robin Williams shine. You just see him do his thing and take things to a whole different level. It was like Godfather feel as well, of knowing like he could just look at you and say these lines and you can feel that character. He can put out any character vibe and any emotional feeling vibe out there and you will understand that. I think the look was great. The whole projection, the whole ups and downs he dealt with in this movie, insane scenarios that they came up with, and phenomenal in putting all those moments on screen. I thought it was just very good to see acting 101 study this type of performance, and I thought Robin Williams did a great job. Him and Matt Damon performing together, I'm just seeing those two shine together, to be honest. This is what made the movie, seeing them get involved with each other. There's a moment in this movie where they're just both being quiet with each other. That was a moment where you can just watch and just, whoa, that was still good. Both of them executed the vision. That's all I could say about it. I thought the lines for everybody had their little chuckle moments. It was funny too. There was moments in this movie that made me laugh. The directing was great, taking us to a lot of places. The choices were great. Very simple, but you can feel environment. You can feel these actors actually doing what they have to do. The love side of this movie is part of this movie that is very key. See why the movie ended how it did. So I'm not mad how the movie ended, why this movie is just phenomenal, because it just leaves you wondering, like, what are these characters going to be doing next? A lot of these things in this movie are based on true events. Matt Damon's character Will, the scenarios that he dealt in this movie, his real life brother actually dealt with. I thought that was very interesting. After my watching the movie Good Will Hunting out of 10, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 9 out of 10. So that's my movie review for the movie Good Will Hunting. Shout out to you guys for tuning into the video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.